welcome to BNE News. This evening, I want to welcome returning soldiers. Today we have Mary Poppins and a special guest telling us about life for those soldiers returning home.
Thanks, Gigi. Today we have Aaron R. Fisher here to talk about his life now that he has returned home. Welcome home, Aaron. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Ms. Poppins.
You can just call me Mary, please. So, what's different now that you're back?
Well, it's changed a little bit since I've been back, and my wife has my job.
That's very common now. How has the war affected your life?
It's made me live in fear ever since I've gotten back.
Were you treated differently in the war because of your color?
Yes, I was.
Are you treated better now?
It's changed a little bit, but not much.
Now that you and your wife have jobs, has it improved your economic state?
Yes, it helps support our 9 children.
Wow, 9 kids, that's a lot. Are you glad you went to war?
Yes, I am. It helps serve my country.
That must be hard. I wish the best for you and your family. That's all the time we have. Thanks for joining us today, Aaron. Back to you, Gigi.
Speaking of changes, there is change in clothes and music and dance as well. Now to our culture desk.
Well, good morning, Miss Dibble. Thank you so much for showing up today.
Well, good morning, Michelle. I'm glad to be here today.
Well, let's start off with a few questions. What do you think about the new fashion today, and what are you wearing?
I think the new fashion of the Gibson girls is way too classy. I prefer being known as a flapper. I don't mind my hair being short or my dress being a little short or skirts with makeup on. I am wearing a black Coco Chanel dress and tights and heels.
Ah, very fun. I see that you sure love your Coco Chanel. But let's talk something about serious fashion. What do you think about the politics and economies?
Well, when I think about politics and economies in the fashion world is that I think it's great that women have a chance to prove themselves with fashion and even have their own business.
So do I.
Really? The politics in the fashion world is that I cannot stand the fashion police for women or indecency laws. They're really pointless.
Now, why do you think that, Miss Dibble?
Because I should be allowed to wear what I want, where I want, how I want.
I seriously agree.
Yes, well, yeah. I love how the culture has changed with fashion. I love the new social life and how different women are designing clothing now.
Talking about designing clothing, let's hear it from Ms. Ledoux. What is he showing off today?
The brand new Coco Chanel spring dress.
Alright, that's all what we have time for, folks. Thank you for coming. Shake my hair.
Can't drink beer, try Coca-Cola. Has hints of cocaine in it. Refreshing.
Not only are people rebelling with style, but with our new prohibition law, crime is breaking out too. Now over to Nick C. at the crime desk.
Thanks, my name's Nick C. I'm here to talk about bootleggers. Many foreigners from Scotland and Ireland immigrated to the southern states in the U.S. before Prohibition. Most of them moved to the mountainous areas where they began to make moonshine. It wasn't until the Prohibition era, the 1920s, that moonshine became more open to the public. Prohibition era is the time when the government created the 18th Amendment to ban the manufacture, sales, and distribution of alcoholic beverages. Moonshine began to sell in speakeasies, which were illegal bars at the time. Moonshine can also be referred to as Mountain Dew and White Light. Over the years, moonshine became more illegal. The federal government made a law stating that moonshine was illegal. Many people say moonshine is legal is because the government doesn't get taxes like it does with other alcoholic beverages. The government hired agents to spy on suspected moonshine runners in the mountains to be arrested for making it. Still today, moonshine recipes and traditions have been passed down from generation to generation. Now to my fellow reporter, Sandy D, with the KKK.
can't drink beer? Try some Coca-Cola. It has hint of cocaine in it. Refreshing.
Hello, sir. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on your show.
Why do you and the Klansmen feel that it's important to spread your culture throughout the world?
Well, I feel it's important because I think my beliefs are the most important beliefs, and yeah, that's pretty much why I think they should be spread throughout the U.S.
All right. Why are the Klansmen involved in politics?
Well, politics, they sort of control the rules and the laws. So I thought if we were to overpower them, then maybe we'd have control of the African Americans.
All right. Why do you feel like African Americans can't be treated equally?
Well, I mean, like, growing up as a child, my parents and parents' friends sort of just taught me that us white folks were better than African Americans, and they didn't deserve all their rights.
All right. How do you go about recruiting your members?
Well, usually it's either family or family friends, or sometimes one of the Klans members would meet someone, just on the street, and then, run up to him and ask him, could I join the Klan?
There's got to be like criteria though, right? Like got to be Christian, like, purely Christian and stuff, right?
100%.
All right. So why do you use the degree of violence you do to enforce your beliefs? Why don't you use the power you already have to just change the laws and the rules and stuff like that?
I believe being nice will get you nowhere. So, being harsh towards the African Americans, I sort of thought they'd get scared or something, and we gain control.
All right, thank you.
Away from all this street disturbance, there are new inventions being made every day. Now to the science desk with Alicia.
Hello, my name is Alicia McKay, and I'm here to tell you about the major scientific discoveries of the century. The economy has been rising from all of the new products that have been invented over the years. Since people have been gaining money from the stock market, they've had more recreational money to buy things like TVs and electric shavers or spin dryers. Also, Ford's mass production techniques have been applied to the production of canned foods and movies. Newfound science about genes is starting to be used for selfish purposes. Scientists were trying to use genetics to create a superior race. Eugenics were reaching their peak in 1923. Using genes, scientists can control every aspect of the offspring, hoping to create a predominant race. Scientists attempted to create a greater race, but also wanted to flesh out undesirable traits. These included alcoholism, pauperism, or epilepsy. I believe that scientists were using this newfound knowledge to create and promote racism. Another great advancement in science was the discovery of penicillin. Alexander Fleming was doing research on bacteria. Fleming served time in the Great War, and he saw how dangerous bacterial infections could be and wanted to find a cure. Penicillin caught his attention one day when Fleming was cleaning out his lab. A mold grown on one of the petri dishes had killed all of the bacteria. He sent his work to Oxford, and the team there started testing them on mice. They saw improvement in bacterial infection and started testing on humans. The discovery worked. This will no doubt change the future of medicine or even decide who will win a war. My last topic is the introduction of the Big Bang Theory. George Lemaitre believed that science and religion could play both their parts in the creation of the world. Lemaitre studied physics and Einstein's laws of gravitation. He believed that if these laws were true, it meant the universe must be expanding. Lemaitre's theory proposed that the universe was created from the same materials, then Einstein's laws were applied to the whole universe. Lemaitre had no evidence of the galaxy expanding, so no one believed him. After that, Edward Hubble discovered that yes, indeed the galaxies were moving away from each other. Lemaitre used this as evidence and said that if the galaxies were a movie, then you rewind the movie and they'd have to come together to form an object. Lemaitre's theory was that the universe was once a primordial atom, which contained all of the universe's matter. Eventually, the world began to recognize his theory as a noteworthy statement.
Thanks, Alicia. It's great to be here. Now, this whole case has been causing quite a stir, but to really figure out what's going on, we're going to need to go back a few years. As we all now know, the 1920s have thus far been an incredible decade in terms of scientific discovery and technological advancement. However, many of these new discoveries do have their downsides. Darwin's theory of evolution would fall into this category, as it has been said to challenge the Christian story of creation and has been causing many people to question the Bible and their faith, while causing others to completely disregard these new ideas as a possibility. This divide has created two groups within the church: the modernists, who of course accept science and believe that the Bible is open to interpretation. The fundamentalists recently began causing quite a fuss, causing several bills banning the sacrilegious teaching of Darwinism in schools to be proposed. Many of these proposed bills, of course, failed, but both Oklahoma and North Carolina passed bills banning textbooks that teach Darwin's theory, and a law was also passed in Florida banning all teaching of evolutionism as true.
Wow, that's pretty severe.
I'll say. Interestingly enough, many of the people involved in the making of these laws didn't actually believe that they would ever be enforced, or that even if they were, that anyone would honor them. In this day and age, that's really not too hard to imagine. No one obeys the laws anymore, just look at what prohibition has done to our society.
I suppose I can't disagree with that.
Now, things really started to heat up in 1925 when another anti-evolution bill, known as the Butler Act, was passed in Tennessee. The American Civil Liberties Union was opposed to this new law, and the organization decided they needed to finance a test case against it. High school science teacher and evolutionist John Scopes of Dayton, Tennessee, agreed to be caught, charged, and arrested teaching evolution to his students. News of the upcoming trial got much attention from the media, and people took stances immediately. Many well-known figures got involved with the case, including William Jennings Bryan, a prominent fundamentalist, and Clarence Seward Darrow, a retired defense attorney, anti-fundamentalist, and general opponent of religion's involvement in our progressive society. Darrow spoke for Scopes in the trial, while Bryan, of course, opposed it.
Of course.
The trial, which came to be known as the Scopes Monkey Trial, began on Friday, July 10th of 1925 and lasted for more than a week. The defense argued that the Butler Act violated Tennessee's Constitution, the Constitution of the United States, and the doctrine enforcing the separation of church and state. William Jennings Bryan, however, believed that Tennessee was within its rights to enforce the law, and furthermore stated that evolution was illogical because if humans evolved from monkeys, then both species shouldn't still be here.
This trial just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
You haven't heard the half of it. Not only was the political impact and attention huge, but the issues, of course, had a huge cultural impact nationwide. Everyone in the town of Dayton became involved, and people came in town just to see the trial. For those weeks, the little town's economy thrived. Newsreels were run in theaters, radio stations broadcasted the event live, journalists wrote about it from all points of view, the list goes on. People these days just have more leisure time and money to get involved in national concerns like these. It was really one of our country's first mass media events.
Wow.
Now, at this point, the trial was becoming even less about Scopes and almost exclusively about the law itself. On the final day of the trial, Bryan admitted to believing in a very literal interpretation of the Bible. However, he proved to be very ignorant when confronted about biblical contradictions and impossibilities. This proved to everyone that such an interpretation was simply too absurd to be taken seriously and honestly defended. So in the end, the fundamentalists did lose a larger battle, as it'll be hard for them to be taken seriously for a while now. And while Scopes was found guilty, because, let's face it, the man did break the law, we are happy to report that his conviction has been overturned.
That's wonderful, and it sure sounds like the battle isn't over yet.
You've got that right.
Now back to the streets, where blacks and whites are coming together to make art. And here are W.E.D. Du Bois and Cheryl telling us about the Harlem Renaissance.
Welcome, Mr. Du Bois. In your opinion, what is the Harlem Renaissance?
Well, the Harlem Renaissance is actually, for once, whites and blacks get together and celebrate the artistic and intellectual revolution in Black America.
Very interesting. How are you involved in the Harlem Renaissance?
Well, as you know, I'm a writer and a civil rights activist, so I feel that I provided guidance and a spark of inspiration and opportunities to the blacks.
Very impressive. Do you know by any chance how the Harlem Renaissance is related to the politics?
Actually, I do know. It actually helped shape future civil rights activities and early calls for interracial cooperation. Also gives blacks a new chance to get new political rights.
Haha. This might be a different question, but people want to know how the Harlem Renaissance is related to economics.
Well, that actually is a difficult question, but not impossible. Ha 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 ha. It was a wealthy and intellectual group of African Americans, which you probably know. You're lying.
Haha, yes, I do. Please get on with the answer.
Calm down. Anyways, their wealth created a demand for African American goods that actually created a demand that created jobs for African American.
Wow, that's actually a reasonable answer. Now, is the Harlem Renaissance related to culture?
Ah, yes, cultures. It's pretty basic, actually. Inspired nations of the U.S., a new kind of nation where cultures developed side by side. Basically, pretty much a big cultural celebration.
Well, thank you, Mr. Boyers. And I'm sorry, but we are out of time.
Aw. Oh, well, it was my pleasure.
All right. Thanks.
Can't drink beer? Try some Coca-Cola. It's refreshing and delicious. Delicious.
With all this leisurely time, people have more time to go watch sports, and Nick and Cam are going to tell us about it.
Hi, I'm Nick Miller, and I'm joined here with my special partner, Cameron Mitchell.
Well, what a decade it has been in sports. Really one to remember.
Yes, it has. I mean, many records and new cultures have been established throughout the last 10 years. I mean, thanks to the economy, the booming economy, I mean, we get these awesome stadiums built and more money.
Well, I think it's about that time that we recall this memorable decade in sports.
Well, the formation of the NFL sparked a new interest in football for many Americans in 1920. And now it is one of the most popular sports today.
But don't forget that memorable first Winter Olympics. Athletes from all around the world had a chance to compete and show off their winter skills for the first time.
Also, the great accomplishment of swimming across the English Channel was Gertrude Elderly, and well, resulted in an outburst of swimming.
And remember that first American Wimbledon victory by William Big Bill Tilden II.
And as always, we have to recognize our sports, because without you, there wouldn't be anything.
Indeed. Well, although we have seen many great accomplishments made by our great sports stars, I think we can all agree on one that's the most outstanding, and that's Babe Ruth's landmark of hitting a total of 60 home runs in a single season.
That's just crazy. Only a superhuman can do that.
Well, we're very lucky to have Babe in the studio today, so let's welcome Babe.
Pleasure to have you here, Babe. You mind if I ask you a couple questions? Alright. So I heard your real name isn't Babe Ruth. What is it?
My real name is George Herman.
Wow. So, when did you begin your career as a baseball player?
I began my career in 1914.
And so, what was your batting average in the first year of your major league career?
My batting average is .342.
Wow, just amazing.
Impressive. Well, thanks, Babe.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time here. Wow, what a legend he is.
Well, yes, he is. I mean, well, to wrap up the show, we'd like to thank our government for providing money for the construction of new stadiums and venues to watch our sports games.
Well, thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you.